Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. Where to begin? We're touching the bases, the fundamentals of music as we move forward and getting better at understanding our own musicianship. And today I want to talk about the minor scale. And when I say the minor scale, it's misleading because there really are three, at least three, that we've got to understand. It can be a little bit confusing, and you've undoubtedly heard some of these terms before and wondered what the difference was and why they exist that way. Well, I hope by the end of today's video, you'll know a lot more about the minor scale. Well, just first, a little housekeeping. If this is the second or third video of mine you've watched and they're useful for you, and I hope they are, now's a great time to subscribe to the channel where we're doing the series here, Where to Begin, which is about the basic building blocks of music, looked at sort of through a European classical lens, but we're trying to bring in other elements as well. The goal is to sort of create a base understanding and vocabulary of music theory for you, for musicians who are just trying to make better music themselves. I'm trying to create music theory for everyone. That's the goal. I hope this is useful. And today, I want to talk about minor scales. Now, we'll do a little review first, and it'll be quick. And I think that you'll be interested in where the minor scales come from and how we use them. Well, let's just jump in. The major scale, the C major scale in this case, consists of a specific set of notes. I'm just going to play them all. That's the C major scale, and it's a formula of whole and half steps. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 and then another half step to start the whole thing again. And in Western music theory, we talk about a relative minor scale, a scale that has exactly the same set of notes and the same key signature. In other words, we would have the same sharps and flats if we wanted to extend our starting point into a different note. It's based on the sixth step of that scale. Let's see if we can find it. C, D, E, F, G, A. A is going to be my starting note, and I'm going to use the same notes that I played in the C scale, and I'll get all the way up to A. My computer correctly calls that Aeolian. Aeolian is a modal name for the natural minor scale. And let's look at the chords and some of the characteristics of the natural minor. And the natural minor is the first minor we're going to talk about. It's used in folk music, and it's just kind of a beautiful sounding scale. It has a kind of a compelling quality. The one chord is minor. And we know that the 4 and 5 chords are important, so let's check on those. The 4 chord, the chord on the 4th step of the scale, D minor, is also minor. And the chord on the 5th step of the scale, the step E, is also minor, E minor. A minor, D minor, E minor, back to A minor. It's a very soft sound and quite lovely. The idea that the 5 chord, the dominant chord in major, had this tritone in it. Here, well, let's look at the G7 chord. And the tritone in it wanted to resolve was a really powerful tool for composers. And so as composers and musicians explored playing in minor, they wanted to retake some of that energy. And so there's a variation of the Aeolian or natural minor scale that includes a major 5 chord, or a dominant chord in this case. 1 chord is still minor, 4 chord is minor, but the 5 chord is dominant. We've got, it says A flat there, but actually it's G sharp, because A, B, C, D, E, F, G sharp, A. A new scale that is a response to the desire to have a dominant chord on 5. And honestly, it is great. think it's really a kind of a cool sound to have a dominant chord living there for us on the 5. And so we have to have a new scale. And we have a name for that scale. This scale, A, B, C, D, E, F, G sharp, A, is called the harmonic minor, and my computer has correctly identified it. The A harmonic minor is the scale that we use most frequently to get that dominant sound. And you hear it in folk music, and you hear it in a lot of pop and rock as well. Sometimes there'll be a 5 chord that's minor, and then suddenly the 5 chord will be dominant just to turn you around again at the end of a phrase. It's an important cadence tool, right? It's an important way to create the end of a phrase or the end of a section. Well, that's not the only solution, though, and it's kind of an interesting thing because at least one more important scale, the minor scales, exists, and this one is a little harder to parse, but let's take a look at it. Let's say I wanted to have a 1 chord that was minor, A minor, and a 4 chord that was major. Sometimes this is useful, and then a 5 chord that was dominant, and then a 1 chord that was minor. And that gives me a couple of extra altered notes from the ordinary Aeolian natural minor scale. A, B, C, D, E. F is sharp because I need it for the D major chord. G is sharp because I need it for the E7 chord. And then we're back to A minor again. It's not a bad sound. We hear it all the time. So I think that the special thing about this is that it's really similar to an A major scale. It's really similar to a major scale. The only difference between this being this C natural, if I made it C sharp, my computer says A Ionian, A major. This scale is A major. Boom. Now, the melodic minor, and this is the thing that everybody gets tripped up by. The melodic minor on the way up has an F sharp and a G sharp before you get the A. But when you learn it, when you're a little classical piano student, on the way down, the G is natural and the F is natural as well. It's perverse. It's irritating. And I'll tell you what, I don't know. We don't actually use it that way kind of anymore. I mean, it will show up that way sometimes, but you find the ascending and descending melodic minor scale in Baroque music and in, early classical a lot. This sound on the way up is obviously minor, right? I got a minor third. So I can have the F sharp and the G sharp. I know it's a minor scale. This is what my teacher said. Again, I'm 12, 13 years old. She's explaining it to me. On the way down, I need to know it's minor, so I have the flat 7 and the flat 6. On the way down, it's identical to the natural minor scale. On the way down, it's the Aeolian. The melody changes. It's the melodic minor scale. The melody changes. So in my, again, little tween-age brain, I remember it this way. The harmonic minor scale has a harmony in it. The melodic minor scale changes the melody. Well, I love the ascending bit of the melodic minor scale because of this run of whole steps that's built into it. And I'm not alone. Tons of jazz composers and arrangers have taken advantage of this sound in extensions and chords and altered chords, and as a way of creating great scales to use with dominance and in 2/5s that are kind of exciting. That's the reason to really understand the melodic minor scale. But these days, it's mostly the ascending melodic minor scale that we talk about. The reason being, on the way down, it's just the natural minor. It's just the Aeolian minor, the one that's built into the major scale, so to speak. It's interesting, isn't it? Because as I talked about this, I realized that we're dealing with kind of like old-fashioned ideas with a legacy music theory that isn't really in step with how we're making music these days. Music theory is descriptive, rather than proscriptive. It tries to describe what people actually do rather than wag its finger and create rules. And so having 3 different names for the minor scales was a reaction or a response to looking at what composers were actually doing. Composers wanted a dominant 5 chord, and yet the natural minor scale just didn't have that chord. Eventually we'll get all this stuff sorted out, but in the meantime, it's just really good to have the vocabulary, in your hands and in your head. I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe. I asked you at the beginning of the video, and I'll just say it again. And ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my videos. I'll see you next time.